Jonah, big thanks for coming on the SRMC Tribe Podcast.
My pleasure.
Bit of a different one for the audience in this one. We're gonna.
I hope so.
This is where we normally sort of get together in our sort of silver foil hats and chat away. But
I was going to make you one last night. Actually, I was looking in the cupboard for some tin foil and a baseball cap and put a little spike on the top for you.
Hopefully, this is not the end of me and you after this, and we're.
I think before we start, this caveat with this, these are the opinions of Jonah and Pete Lawrence, not Frontiers Group, just in case anything too controversial.
And we're not at all feeling suicidal.
No.
It's obviously nobody knows what your real name is, mate, so just call it Jonah for today. Obviously, we all know each other from our sort of former military backgrounds. But yeah, we're going to obviously talk about conspiracy theories. Me and you, both enjoy reading about them and everything else. So if they are conspiracies or they are real, and give a bit of a counter argument at different ones. Everyone loves a conspiracy, I would say. I know there's loads of conspiracies in it. There's sort of JFK, Antarctica, Rothschilds, moon landing, flat Earth, kind of.
On a weekly basis, mate, I normally get something from him saying, "You won't believe this. Have a look at this. Jonah's just sent me this." That's how it starts off.
But obviously, we'll chat about a few, and a lot of them are interconnected. But obviously, the two main ones we're going to talk about today, 9/11 being, if you think about it, the biggest event that changed the course of history. Had real, and actually.
In our lifetime, definitely.
I think we're probably all in training. He was in training when 9/11 happened?
I was, well, we'll get into it a little bit more, but I was up in 4-5 Commando at the time. Yeah. It's quite a funny story to how that all started.
And then the moon landing, if you think about the moon landing, that being the biggest achievement of mankind, probably the thing America and the world is most proud of. And if that got found out, either of them were not exactly true. It would probably destroy America. Both of them would probably destroy America.
I think the whole thing would unravel, wouldn't it? Whatever that thing is at the minute in 2025, I think it would.
So let's start, mate, with obviously we know background, but what got you into conspiracy theories then, or what made you?
I was thinking about this on the way out in the car just now, and so Royal Marines training 2000. We were down in Cornwall, I'm sure, and we were doing the mountain leader phase. What you usually do it on Dartmoor, but I think because it was foot and mouth at the time I went through training, that everything got moved and shifted about. And we were bivvied up for the night, I think, and we got talking about this and that. Someone got around to Pearl Harbor and how the American suspectedly left the weaker, the older part of their fleet in Pearl Harbor, moved all the higher profile ships out and away because they knew that the Japanese were going to attack. They let it happen, and they let themselves then be drawn into World War II with the public's backing and the public support. And that was what kind of made me start thinking behind the scenes, peek behind the curtain or whatever, think, maybe the narrative isn't the narrative. Maybe this isn't what we're being told isn't the truth. I think it kind of started from there, and then obviously got really busy during training and maybe forgot about it until 2001. So I'm sat in 4-5 Commando. I think we'd done an exercise a few weeks before, and we got back, and it was one of those periods where in the afternoons, nothing's going on. I think we had an old 12-inch TV with the video unit built into the bottom. And I'd never watched Apocalypse Now. I'd never watched it. I'd never seen it. And I thought, it was one of 2 videos we had probably in the room at the time. Put it in, started watching it. Sort of, I think it was mid-afternoon. I know it was early morning for New York. And I think it was kind of mid-afternoon up in Arbroath. And getting into the Apocalypse Now, Marlon Brando and all that. And then one of the lads bursts into the TV room. A plane's crashed into the Twin Towers. And thinking, a little biplane or a little Cessna or whatever. And he was like, no, like a passenger plane. And so as the old sort of thing goes, you had an aerial flex with a coat hanger on the end, press pause on Apocalypse Now. and then try to tune into whatever BBC ITV channel that we could get up in Scotland at the time, and sat there and watched it unfold. And that was, the very start of my career. And I think for the three of us, definitely that changed the world considerably for every military person. You know, we'd gone through training, and it was all Northern Ireland, and maybe there was a Sierra Leone or a Balkans sort of operation thrown in there. It literally changed the world overnight, and I don't think I kind of got into the conspiracy straight away. We were too busy, I think. Too busy. I know 4-5 Commando went off to Afghanistan, and they were up in the mountains, the Tora Bora and all that area, and they were pretty busy.
I suppose these things, because they're so big, the argument, the counter narrative would be, how could they lie because it's so big and known and everything else? And going back to what you said at the beginning, obviously, I thought about this recently actually, you know, where everything seems to be, you know, you don't know what the truth is anymore, especially with like social media, with AI, of like, and how, especially around wars, how news is manipulated for the enemy to think that this is happening, and nobody corrects the news after a war. They go, oh, this is actually what happened. So now when you think years and how different you have left-wing or right-wing media organisations, how they, you know, tell us all in a completely different way. How do we know, like even like the First and Second World War, going, what actually was the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know,
I'll tell you, you've dived a bit deeper than just looking. Like 9/11 wasn't a catalyst for you to really get into it. You obviously saw that Pearl Harbor there.
When I have the time, I've got 4 kids now, so it's kind of like, you know, I'm busy with all that. But I think, like you say, Pete, I think the Second World War with the Pathé sort of newsreels, very nicely edited. But you know, there was a theme behind that to keep the country's morale up. But again, you know, you look back to the First World War when the media coverage was limited, to say the least, you know. And I think who knows what the actual sort of theme and the truth was behind all of that and the start of it. And you know, we look back at it and go, that's crazy. You lost 20,000 people overnight, and you gained 5 meters.
Crazy.
You tend to believe, if information's come from a like authority and if it's the first person's told you, you tend to believe that's the truth, don't you? People as sort of beings going,
yeah.
You know, if a newspaper article printed something, that becomes the truth.
I think that was the theme for a very long time. I think a few families owned the media. They owned all the newspapers. They controlled the narrative through mainstream media, as it's called, legacy media, whatever you want to call it. I think it's changing now massively, but you know, for years and years, decades of manipulation of the truth wasn't questioned, you know. And I think the term conspiracy theorist came around in the 1960s to stop people questioning the narrative, silence them, shut them up, make them look stupid. Yeah, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. It was like a really, really derogatory term. All it was essentially people going,
I'm going to question that.
Not sure about
doesn't
that.
add up.
Yeah, the black and white news footage. I mean, even the black and white news footage, I don't know if you know this, of JFK didn't get released till, but I think it was maybe about sort of 6, 7, 8 years later after it. So the story of what had happened had never been seen. There was a few different versions of the video. It wasn't until a comedian come on one of the late night shows and he said, oh, it's got a name, this tape, and I forget it, but you can find all of this online. And it had the actual original footage of the JFK assassination where it hadn't been seen before. And it took years for that to be seen by the public. So
has Trump not released something more about that? Was that not?
No, I was wondering. He promised to release the truth of 9/11 and JFK, and loads of presidents have actually promised that before they go in, and they kind of never had it. They
always do, because it gets people excited, and it kind of probably gets them whatever percentage of extra votes. And
they release more stuff on or like, I don't know, more stuff on JFK, didn't they? But it's still,
Yeah.
like, who knows what the truth is.
So where are we
exactly.
going to start? Which conspiracy first?
It's-
There's a lot. Have you got a favourite?
let's do 9/11, mate.
I don't know, have you got a favourite, mate?
So isn't it a
Or the one you
favourite?
think
Because they're
there's-
all really, really bad stories, and
Yeah.
what's come out of them has generally been quite negative, unfortunately.
Is there some you're more confident of than others that you're like, no, this is definitely wrong?
You
Put
can
you on the
kind
spot
of look at 9/11, and I think that's the thread of that is still, we're still feeling the sting from that now, I think, aren't we, with what's going on, sort of movement of people from the Middle East into Europe. I think that's all stemmed from 9/11 and the subsequent wars that come after that. You know, COVID's a nice one to get involved with.
Well, let's give
9/11. Let's start with the theories behind why. Then
let's give the broad brush of 9/11, or what the sort of mainstream story is. Then the sort of four planes. September 11th crashed. Two crashed into the Twin Towers. One crashed in Pennsylvania, and one crashed into the Pentagon. 9/11 would be the two buildings collapsed in pretty close to each other. Into their own sort of footprint. Lots of dust, very little debris. No steel frame building had ever sort of collapsed before.
Yeah.
from fire, but no buildings had ever been hit by a plane before, traveling 600 miles
And
an
they
hour.
were designed to withhold a direct strike from
Then you had the third tower, 385 yards away, with a building in between that collapsed.
Yeah.
A tower, a 47-story tower. Then you've got a Pentagon, which is limited plane debris, no footage, or very little teeny bit of footage that doesn't look like a plane going into it. Probably the most secure building in the world. Why it is, to get rid of the conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
just show some footage.
Yeah.
And then the other one in Pennsylvania, which was supposed to be shot down, very little debris again. Sorry, which no real explanation of why there's no debris,
Yeah.
and then there's loads of stuff inside. So let's hit the two buildings first.
So you can pick that apart.
start
I
with
suppose.
big one.
So yeah, would you start with any of that? Crikey. Yeah, I mean, you watch it on the day and it was horrendous. I can remember just being like, oh my God, that is horrendous. And then it wasn't sort of until maybe 10 years later that, people then sort of going, look at the way they fell, the buildings fell. They like you said there, they both fell within their own footprint. They both were built to take a 747 size jet impact, direct impact, the steel frame, there's a lot to unpack. So I suppose you can kind of sort of pick through some of the footage now, and you can sort of see what I think you can see is, does it look like a controlled demolition? If you were to watch a controlled demolition of an old chimney stack in the north of England,
Yeah,
and you were to watch either of those three buildings drop on the 11th September, you would go, the way that happened was very similar.
well, they fall in a control way, don't they? You would presume something getting hit by would fall in different directions, not perfectly.
They're not designed to fall in a controlled way, though. Just for, I would say, built in big built-up areas like that. They're not designed.
I would say they were designed not to fall at all.
So, yeah.
I think they kind of go, the temperature of the jet fuel that burned within the tanks of the planes that then melted the steel girders that compromised the structure of
That's the argument,
fabric of the building.
But
But
also
they were burning
melted
for
the
a
steel-
few hours, and if the impact fell in within that. You know, the plane's impact was in the top few floors. And
you'd think it would bend, not like almost like dustify, and fall into itself.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, you know, and it'll never ever probably come out in our lifetime because there's engineers and architects. It's like thousands of them, and you know, all disagree that that's how them buildings fell. And the funny thing is also that the rubble was taken, it was taken away and shipped out to Asia to be ground into dust before it could actually be properly analysed for anything like any kind of explosives, any kind of...
Like within days, wasn't it? Or even the next...
Yeah, any kind of... Yeah, within days. I mean, especially Building 7, I don't think they ever did a forensic takedown of the buildings. And I think, I mean, again, if there's much truth in this, somebody did take some even if it was just a few handfuls of rubble, and it was taken to a lab and analysed, and it was a lot of thermite. Mm-hmm. Thermite being sort of like an industrial level explosive that they would use in industrial sort of demolitions, and there was thermite signatures within the stone, the rock, and the steel that, you know, that was taken from that building. And I think there was definitely girders that they could see that had been cut within the two twin towers at an angle. So if they did explode, if they cut them like that, they might have sat. Yeah. But when they cut them like that, they naturally slide off of each other, again, making that building drop within its own footprint. So
I think even if somebody's not a conspiracy theorist, that's just the average Joe off the street would look at that footage and go, oh, I wouldn't expect it to fall. I'd like to think so, yeah. I'd like to think so. I think that's probably where I started, and then I kind of started pulling at that thread.
And then you question the why. That's like would always be more... Like why would they do that?
You know, why who? Weaving the narrative of who, is that correct? You know.
Well, let's go back to before we jump onto because that's the evidence of the different things in it. So Tower 7, that was the one. I think if you got most of the arguments, people have got they can come back with the counter theory around 9/11. But Tower 7, people haven't really got. There's not even the official explanation of Tower 7. It's quite weak.
Yeah.
That there's fires on two floors, 47. I think.
Fires on 2 floors from burning rubble from the north tower, I believe,
with a building in between.
Yeah,
caught on fire, and then it blows. It takes 11 seconds to blow. That's to drop. Then you got Larry Silverstein and the owner of the building and Senator. The Secretary of State, I think, John Kerry, both said on different little bits of video footage that it was blown. Again, it's a sort of a counter argument for what they meant. That doesn't make sense.
No, and the fact also that the BBC reported that it collapsed 20 minutes before it actually collapsed. Yeah. So if you can find the actual
footage of that,
there's actual footage of that. If you can find the BBC footage of that, and she's actually saying that Tower 7, the people who own the building, the tower's just. He's off. It's all right. You okay?
So I'll carry on, mate. Yeah, I've seen that footage. Just I don't watch as much conspiracy stuff as you two do, but that Tower 7 footage is pretty clear.
Yeah,
that's there in the background.
It's that there, and it's in the background, and it's 20 minutes before the fact, and you kind of go in. Was that?
What was their explanation of that?
They didn't have one.
There's never been an explanation.
They didn't have one. No, they just thought no one's going to notice.
But a lot of people have brought that up, right? That argument that actually that's...
Yeah, I think so. But I think sometimes as well, ignorance is bliss.
Was just like are they saying it's like it was miscommunication with the journalist, or... I was going to wonder what the argument was for that.
That would probably be the excuse, but it's hard to, I think a lot of trouble with news around that time, and maybe even now, that there's always a huge rush to be first with the news, and even if it's not factual, the biggest rush to get the news out is how you win being a news reader or a news channel, or and I think 20 minutes is a long time to know that a building's going to collapse before it actually has.
So the actual official explanation of how that building fell by NIST, which is like our HSC, is the middle beam got that hot.
That's right, yeah.
And bent. That's what caused. It's a 47-story building. It's a giant skyscraper. It looks quite small compared to the rest of them. But no, obviously, and I suppose people would say, it's like the shock blast that went through after two buildings come down.
Yeah.
Sort of, I can't think of the word to use.
Yeah, it's almost like an earthquake.
There was a lot of eyewitness accounts, and I think that said, there was explosions within those buildings. These status, even the firemen that went into the Twin Towers, the two sort of main towers, and in the lobby, coordinating the rescue. I mean, you can't even imagine the chaos. But understanding they heard what they understood was controlled explosions throughout, boom, 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 and then the towers coming down. Same with Building 7, boom, boom, the towers then collapse, and it's kind of like, I think before, 2 days before, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, you probably read this too, 2 days before the official report came out from the NIST, they tried to do an interview with one of the eyewitnesses, and he mysteriously died 2 days before the report came out. So, again, that's another rabbit warren to head down.
It's a bit odd scene when I looked at it years and years ago. Was there not a load of gold removed from the towers before it went
Apparently
down?
so, yeah.
Like trucks got a few days before.
Policies got changed, yeah. The day before.
And it was supposed to be a government, like FBI or CIA building as well, Tower 7.
Within Tower CIA, yeah, there's a lot of options put on a lot of big corporations. So British Airways had big put options put on their stock prices the day before on the 10th of September. There's a lot of
that gets into the
things that kind of make you go
the why and who. Then like that's
the why and the who.
I mean that's the one that will get people thinking maybe, but.
Yeah.
What have you got? Are you both of a similar opinion here? It's a tough thing to put out.
It's with the who would be either, obviously it's believed that 19 hijackers, a bloke in a cave on a sat phone pulled off the most sophisticated terrorist attack in the world.
The heat of the engine fuel was so hot that it melted the Twin Towers, but their passports were found in the rubble. Oh look. Yeah. It's kind of like, all right.
Well, with the
that's bizarre one.
With the controlled explosion, then the counter narrative would be how, it's not like you have to plant a stick of dynamite and the things that got there. How much to blow a building would be incredible amounts of. Yeah. That would be like.
Yeah, I mean, the planning of something like that obviously would be so technical, and you'd have to have some real expertise to do that. Regardless of the planes hitting it. But then it's almost like the why then. Like why? Obviously, there's a catalyst for a lot of things from that.
I think, the why would essentially be the catalyst for what happened after,
The new Pearl Harbor would be.
The new Pearl Harbor, I think, again, going back to JFK, Operation Northwoods was perhaps, for people who've not heard of it, you can also obviously look this up and read all about it. It's been declassified and was obviously a series of events to take place on the American mainland. I think they planned to fill a 747 full of cadavers, dead bodies, and crash it into the United States. Tell the American people that the Cubans had shot it down to justify war with Cuba.
And they've actually admitted
that's been released.
That's been declassified. The president of the time who said no, this was in 1962. It was the same president we talked about earlier that was shot in 1963.
Jeez.
Well, the Vietnam War, the false flag attack, they admitted they did that.
They admitted that as well, yeah. What was that called, crikey?
Bay of Tonkin.
Yeah. So, it got them into the war, which obviously led on to, huge ramifications. If you go back again to Eisenhower's speech pre-JFK about the industrial military complex, we can unravel a lot in every direction of the whys of why these things happen, I think. I mean, the endless wars of mean, the American economy's built on war.
Yeah,
you know,
everyone-
Raytheon and
always people
Lockheed
profiting from war.
Martin.
Yeah.
The whys are pretty endless.
Yeah, the why says maybe was the wrong question. But do you think if it was reason for a particular government to do that, then do you think it went a bit wrong? It didn't go as planned then? Because to imagine that someone would do that to their own people on that scale, was it even needed to be at that scale? Why would they do it at that scale?
There's a lot of other facts around that also. You know, you've kind of got, I suppose, they were running an actual exercise of hijacked planes being flown over cities at the same time as it actually happened.
On the same day.
On the same day. So the amount of confusion that must have been there, you know, talking about, like you mentioned, the planning levels and the planning structure behind that.
Go explain that then, mate. Go on,
So basically they were running military exercises and scenarios from obviously pilots and military escorting planes all the way right through to air traffic control, having that airspace planes hijacked within that airspace, and this scenario actually being run through in real time. Obviously, NORAD were actually running that exercise at the time of the attack. So the amount of then confusion that's built up from, is this real? Is this part of the attack? By the time the first plane had gone in, it was kind of too late. And then the second one hit minutes later.
You're saying that the WHO, I always thought the first video, like straight away, they said it was Bin Laden, straight away. Like, like how did they know? Instantly.
Instant.
Like, you know, it wasn't exactly he had his name on the side of the plane sort of thing. How did they? And the first video of, did I say Samurai bomber then? Sorry. Samurai bomber. I'll be shot now. The first video, correct me if I'm wrong here, of Osama bin Laden after the attacks, he denies it. Like why? Because obviously they were doing that for the biggest publicity ever of, you know, their cause, the, you know, West and America being evil and everything else.
Yeah, they'd already had their villain. They'd already.
But why would he deny it on the first video?
Exactly. Why was his also basically cut forward a few hours after the attacks? I believe the airspace got closed down. I can remember that, and obviously, you know, then obviously talking about the stocks of British Airways, etc., and all those big companies. But then why was apparently Bin Laden's family the only family that got flown out of the United States when the airspace was closed down within hours of the attacks going down? I don't know. There's questions there that you kind of, then it leads on to everything else we're saying, and it's, very strange. But like you said, coordinated. I think, so going on to the who, that might lead to the why, that might lead to, you know.
Hopefully we'll crack it today.
Mate.
You two are going to be in danger of assassination attempt. If you two die mysteriously in the next few months, we know you're onto something.
Me home. But where was I think Al Qaeda were planning it. I think, you know, whatever level, you know, was it planned from a cave in the Tora Bora Mountains? You know, you could say yes, you could say no. There's a lot of things that would fall out from both answers, but I think they were planning something. Do I think the CIA knew about it? Yeah. Did I think they kind of hushed it, and, you know, with other intelligence agencies, do I think they knew about it? And I say CIA, I'm very generalising. I think, you know, there's probably another level of agency below or above the CIA that do coordinate these things. Do I think they knew about it? Do I think they facilitate it and let it, pushed it along? You know, maybe. But it would sort of fall into line with everything that happened after 2001 with Afghanistan, and then Iraq 2003 and everything else afterwards. You know, it kind of led us into a big load of the war on terror, as it was called. The Patriot Act was introduced in America, which I think even Edward Snowden called that out as, you know, it was just the dissolution of everyone's freedoms, pretty much, where they could just hack your phones and hack your computers and they can hack your smart fridge and your smart kettle now, probably. But yeah, it's kind of a lot falls out from it. And, you know, would they have allowed it to happen and go along to destabilize, to take the oil and the power and change the power structure in the regions of the Middle East? You could say no, but that's exactly what happened.
Do you think the definitive truth or answer will ever come out?
It probably, unless it's whistleblowers.
Yeah, I think.
How could you silence that many people for it not to have come out from someone within? If it's within an agency, or you would have thought someone would have come out.
I saw the other day that when they were building the atomic bomb, there's 100,000 people building it. Only 5 people actually knew.
Yeah,
they were building the atomic bomb.
The Manhattan Project was just
like. Yeah, that'd be
even. I mean, even now, you can look at things happening now today that with what UFOs or what they call them, UAPs, and you know, it's like someone knows something, even if it is happening or if it isn't. Someone knows something.
What do you think about the
Pentagon?
UFOs
today, do we? Crikey.
What do you think about the Pentagon? That's a bit of a like. There's no footage of a plane going.
Again, the rubble was taken straight away, wasn't it? It was car park. It was rubbled. Sorry, the rubble was taken away. It was concreted over instantly.
A little bit of footage, wasn't there, from
a little bit of
shop or
just like an explosion.
Footage of something, but again, probably a 5-story building with a pilot who had maybe double figures of flying pilot training in a 1-engine Cessna, could park a 747 on the office for budget and audit for the Pentagon, who again the day before had announced that there was a $3.5 trillion deficit on the budget for the Pentagon, and they couldn't account for £3.5 trillion. And then obviously the day later, the office gets hit with a 757 apparently, and there's no footage, and there was never any forensic.
It must be the most filmed.
The most secure CCTV building in the world, potentially. And then
that footage was just never released or never seen.
There's some very grainy footage from a traffic light camera on one of the intersections, I think, isn't there? And you can see something that might resemble a missile or a projectile or something.
And it would, a plane would have to travel like, I think I said this before, like down and then across.
Well, haven't they tried to simulate it for all 4 scenarios? The 4th scenario being Building 7, and even trained pilots in simulators going, that's pretty much impossible. Yeah.
I might be wrong on this one. On the Pennsylvania one.
Both probably might be.
Yeah, no, you're very wrong. Not as in what I meant is what the actual conspiracy is. But on the Pennsylvania one, I think the official, because there's no like real footage, no real debris.
No debris.
Is that the plane inverted and it kind of buried itself?
They said it got so hot that the plane disintegrated.
That doesn't normally happen, is it, when a plane crashes? It's just.
So I'm not a plane crash expert, but I wouldn't know.
You will be after this.
Yeah. So I question it all now as well.
Just going home like that.
Of all of them, there's quite a few famous conspiracies, I suppose, out there. But yeah, the 9/11 is the one that I think, even if you're not, you probably do question it a little bit.
Of our lifetime, definitely. I think because it's affected us so much. You know, we kind of we went into Iraq in 2003. Obviously, the lads went into Afghanistan in 2001. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and after that, we didn't come out until 2021. It was because the Taliban harboured, and then the war against the Taliban and all of that went on. And
to throw some crazy ones in there for the audience about 9/11. So obviously some are being the planes were holograms, and
I've seen that one. I've seen that one
because the nose of the plane comes out the other side.
Yeah,
where
that's a good one.
Say an aluminium wouldn't go through steel.
Yeah,
obviously it's traveling 600 miles an hour, but
you definitely get section for that one, mate.
I'm not saying I believe that one, but there's another one I saw recently. It was quite interesting actually. It was on Pat David's podcast, PBD's podcast, big podcast. Then he obviously he had a woman on there who was an engineer for in her 60s. She wasn't a great sort of speaker, but she's done masters in engineering, done a doctorate in it, and spent all these years been looking at direct energy weapons. This is her theory anyway. She doesn't call them weapons; she just calls it direct energy, and saying how they've been used in films for years, last 30 years. Like laser beams to get the public ready for it. And actually, her evidence is quite interesting. How she said, how did them buildings? So only the bottom bit. Say if they're that high, only the bottom bit remained. You know, say 1/10 of the structure, but the rest of it, she said, just dustified. There wasn't like steel like for miles in different buildings, and she's like, where did it all go? And then she shows like all the different pictures. She was, and then Pat David's thing was, well, you know, they must have tested this before if the government would just leave it a chance to test on a day. And then she shows different examples around the world where, like in forests where like all these different trees have just been, you know, and they're like 100 meters apart. And they've been sort of, but that's another direct energy weapons, a conspiracy around it.
I don't know. I've not kind of got down that one as yet.
Not saying I believe that, but it asks
a lot of different questions. There was talk about the fires in Hawaii 2 years ago. Was it that stretch of coast, and there was, you know, it was wanted by rich developers for years and years and years, and then the locals were like, no, it's our homes. And then all of a sudden these wildfires start overnight, that the water was turned off for all the fire hydrants, and all the electric cables the trees weren't maintained between them, so it was kind of like it was just a tinderbox ready to go up. Have you seen the one about the blue roofs?
No.
So they tested the theory, and any building that had a blue roof was just left completely intact. Again, I'm not going to get into that.
What would be the reasoning for that?
No idea.
All right.
But maybe it reflected, and there's actually footage of Biden going, we should do something about the blue roofs. In one of his muttering little walk-arounds, but yeah.
But Dunks is what it is. It would, for 9/11, there would have to be so many people, like where they convinced themselves they're being a patriot by doing that to lead to X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
there'd have to be so many people, you know. It couldn't just be 10, could it?
A lot of people to silence if that.
Absolutely, no, and that's the thing. Like, but you know, you kind of.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
And because it's so extreme, you couldn't imagine that anyone would do that, one to their own people, or you know, whoever you're saying this might be.
Yeah.
And it's not as big as going on just pointing the finger at the States. It's a lot bigger than that.
No, it's a lot bigger than that. You know, the intelligence agencies around the New World, did they know something else? You know, the betting against the stock market and all the changes in the insurances in the days before, it kind of asks you different questions. And some people knew something was going to happen, you know, and if they profited in millions and billions of dollars or whatever,
trillions.
And if you start looking at something like this, you just go down some rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Into like, you know, there's arguments for a lot. But.
Yeah. It can be pretty exhausting sometimes.
Mate, there's loads of like little things like
keeps me and Pete busy.
On like the Time on Time magazine, mate, years ago, there was like the picture of the guy who owned the Twin Towers, and on his watch it's like 11 minutes past 9 and stuff.
And the Simpsons.
Simpsons stuff. There's the whatever the $10 bill. When you fold it a specific way, it looks like two towers with smoke coming out the top.
Back to the Future 2. There's two twin on a hologram when they're in the future. It's the twin towers, and they're collapsing on the hologram.
And then there's the Jeffrey Epstein artworks of George W. Bush playing with two Jenga towers on the floor. And then there's a picture of, I think it's Bill Clinton sat in a chair, wingback chair like yourselves, wearing a pink dress.
Yeah.
Again, you can look all this up. It's all online.
Yeah, and you can
come to
obviously,
your own conclusions, don't.
I know,
he'd be finishing this. It'd be worse than us.
I don't know.
But I think that's the point I said to you earlier on, Pete. I think this is the point that I'm not saying, well, my mind's made up, and I don't think anyone should make their mind
question
up.
things. I'll get that. That's a good way to be.
I think, I just naturally, since those days, like question things. I probably question stuff a bit too much now, but I'm not quite in the flat Earth sort of realm.
Like if you think we went to Iraq on a lie, we're up to the highest estimation is 1 million people died.
Yep.
On a lie.
Probably more.
Yeah,
like
still.
And that was people thought that was something to do with 9/11.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, well, Bin Laden bombed the Twin Towers, so we're going to go and kill Saddam Hussein. What?
Yeah.
What? How do you put those things together? What? Yeah, and now we know that's a lie because there were no weapons of mass destruction. That was a conspiracy theorist in itself, What was his name? Dr. David Kelly, I think.
Yep.
I might be wrong there with the name.
Yeah, that's right.
Very mysteriously, the guy who sort of debunked the fact that they were weapons of mass destruction, died mysteriously in a field, committed suicide, but whatever. So it leads into a lot of different areas, and you do kind of start asking.
Well, then
questions.
If you go, if they can lie about that, they can lie about anything.
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah. I think again, it goes on to what we mentioned at the start. Is I think they kind of got used to control the narrative through the print press. I think this even goes back to when the first kind of printing presses were industrialized, I suppose, in probably the 1700s. And, the church would essentially control the narrative. So whatever the king or whoever wanted the narrative to be, it would be filtered out to the public through the priest or the bishop, and then the narrative was set. The print press was invented in the 1700s, and people could read for themselves, and it caused chaos. People kind of, what we can't control the narrative, we can't control what people say and think and talk about.
Well, that's what
it's changed massively.
That's what obviously governments don't like now, do they? With the mainstream media, if whoever's controlling that.
And that's why they had to create the term conspiracy theorist, because computers were starting to come out and people were kind of going, that doesn't look right to me. But yeah, kooky conspiracy theorists, I love it.
Is moon landings. I took my youngest daughter to the National Science Museum in London before and seen one of the craft they landed in, and it looked like my youngest daughter made it out of tin foil. I kind of
it ain't the real one.
Yeah, but it's not. Mate, moon landings. Again, the biggest accomplishment of mankind. If it was true, it would destroy a country. Going back to that thing, the thing Dunk said, too many people would have to know, and then you can make the argument like the atomic bomb. Maybe only a few people knew they sort of faked it. But it's 55 years since anybody has been over past the Van Ryan radiation belt.
Yeah,
which we haven't in 55 years. We haven't travelled 1,000th of the distance to the moon, and the explanation being we haven't got the technology to do it now. They went in 69 to 72, sort of 6 missions.
Why would they want to go back to the moon? That'd be the argument. That's what I'm saying. Why would they want to go back? Is there a reason to go back? What if they?
I don't know. There's
resource there, and there's water there. There's sort of different apparently. Well, if we've ever been, different. But we haven't been in. I know they're supposed to be the next one is 2029. Well, let's keep pushing the date, don't they?
Yeah, well, they say they just destroyed all the technology they had, all the mathematical calculations, and they haven't got it. So that's the reason we haven't gone back. And
when in history,
it was destroyed or destroyed by accident? I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, the actual official explanation on the NASA explanation is they've lost the technology to go past the Van Ryan radiation belt. No human has travelled past that, which is 150 miles, and the moon is like 150,000 miles away. So in the history of the world, there's never been a time where technology over 50 years has got less. It's not
gone
like
backwards, yeah.
You know, like somebody when they first flew a plane and they pulled it off and it, wow, and then for 55 years nobody flew another plane.
Yeah.
You know, it's
doesn't add up, does it? Quite.
Yeah, and then so the thought being, you know, it was obviously the astronauts that would have to be in on it, and to win the sort of US sort of space race over Russia.
Yeah.
And the argument again would be Russia would have to know about it. And then moon rocks have come back. But yeah, and then obviously the video footage. There's loads of things, mate. So, go on, mate. Where do you want to start on our?
Sounds like you started with that one.
Yeah, so you're all over that one, mate. Yeah, no, I suppose again answers a lot of questions. I think it was, they did it. It was obviously the middle of the Cold War. It was, you know, USA versus Russia, the space race. The Russians had put the first man into orbit. Or before that, I think the first dog or the first monkey or the first, you know, the space race was it, wasn't it? And then 1969, I think it was. Yeah, it was all systems go. But yeah, you kind of look at some of that wobbly black and white footage now, and you kind of, it does ask a lot of questions. You know, how do they get that big space car in that little wobbly module? You know, you look at the space car and you kind of go, oh, but yeah, we've never made anything like that as good as that since. It's like, okay.
It's good how luckily the mobile phone camera was there on the moon to take the picture before they got off.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's very, very, very clever. Yeah, and you've seen the footage of the shadows on the moon. So I don't know if you've seen this, Dunk, but there's a photograph.
Oh, the flag, is it? When they've got the flag on the
Yeah, there's
shadows
a couple, yeah, where the flag's obviously rigid, and you know, that was probably a rigid flag that was there to because there was no gravity, obviously. And then there's another one where there's a photo and it's of the silhouette of the astronaut, and the silhouette obviously as if the light was behind him, so the silhouette is going like that, but there's a rock to the right hand side of him where the silhouette comes across like that, so as if it was shot in
maybe on a planet with two suns.
There you go.
You're talking about whistleblowers. There have actually been quite a few whistleblowers around the moon landings of people of. There's been loads of like astronauts prior to the first mission that were like killed, sort of mysterious pattern.
Yeah.
There's one guy who was supposed to be before Neil Armstrong, and his family since he died before. I think he died before the first mission, and his family have said since they think he was murdered because he refused to do the lie. And then there's other one is I think it's because they're supposed to film it on an air base nearby, and it was the son and the wife. They did a testimony, I think, where they said the husband was part of the filming, and he said on his deathbed, "I can't die with this taking this to." Yeah,
there's a lot of those deathbed confessions around that people have said.
On deathbed confessions, people want to clean a slate, don't they?
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the press conference with like Neil Armstrong and the other guys where they come back and it's like a hostage video. I don't know if you ever captured any of that.
They're trying to get him to swear on the Bible and he won't do it.
Yeah, they kind of sort of sat there, three of them, and they've just got back from the moon. You know, great, the heroes of
the world,
the generation, everything, and they're just sat there like that, as if to say there's something going on there. You know,
they look broken, don't they?
They look, yeah.
And the argument against that would be they've just been through how hard it was or something, but you'd think they'd be in a better condition. And
you've been a bit more euphoric than that, perhaps. I think, because it's like when Katy Perry did her.
Do you know they haven't actually got the original footage of all they've got? So the thing that was broadcast to the world was of them filming the screen in NASA, but they've lost the tapes. the actual original tapes. Apparently.
Yeah.
Which, but like to have the sophistication 55 years ago to transport those signals of like live TV of somebody.
Well, didn't Nixon call them? Was it Nixon at the time? He called them up when they were
he's
in orbit
talking
on the moon.
to
He's
them on the
talking
moon.
to them
Yeah.
live on TV.
It's not even a pause.
Yeah.
You'd have to question that one.
Again, there's questions, isn't there? But no, it's all very strange. I think, they did it. They wanted to win the space race. It was
the same reason we talk 9/11. There's always
Same-
a why behind it.
Yeah. And, if they did it, if they didn't do it, the Apollo missions afterwards, it was...
So then why would, say if they did it, they went six times to the moon, apparently. Why go 6 times?
Yeah.
Why didn't Russia ever go? Because they've obviously been to space loads of times.
Yeah.
So the argument I've said why they don't go is too expensive and it's too difficult.
Yeah.
Well, if it cost a fortune before, surely it'd be a bit cheaper to do it now.
You'd think, yeah.
Like one of the, they say, why isn't Elon Musk sort of revealed it then? Surely he would know if it's possible or not. I know with the work he does, but apparently he needs NASA to allow him to do what he does. That's the sort of counter to that.
Yeah.
55 years, like I think what technology was like 55 years ago, like the computing power of they would have, that would exist, would be nothing like even our
What about the
modern-
fuel to get that far? Is that
exactly.
even like...
eight trips. So Elon Musk he said on Joe Rogan to go to the moon. He wasn't talking about, he wasn't a conspiracy chat. He was just saying how he's going to do it.
Data
They
and
have to
facts.
refuel 8 times.
That's today in 2025.
How did they refuel years ago?
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of questions around
They
it, isn't
refueled
there?
in Hollywood before they filmed the scene.
Well, that's the thing. Was the Stanley Kubrick is the conspiracy theory around it, isn't he? Where he, again, I think that was another deathbed confession. I think to his daughter, maybe. I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
what
He
the
filmed the
director-
footage.
He filmed the footage. Yeah.
He filmed the actual in that military air base.
Yeah, in whatever Area 51 or one of those
That's a good little
areas.
lane into the next one. Area 51, mate.
So all the I think all the moon rock got given to like all different world leaders, didn't it? And I think it's like Italian or prime minister or something like that. Like had it looked up for some reason. No, I think he watched like some sort of conspiracy thing and then had the rock checked.
Yeah.
And they found out it was like some
California.
bath foam. Do you know what I mean? It's just something. It wasn't. It wasn't from another planet.
It's a bath bomb.
It was a bath bomb.
Unicorn bath bomb.
Yeah, what was like the spacesuits?
The footprints on the space are different because you got again is the famous footprint in the space dust with the lines on the bottom of the boot, and then you can see the video or the photo of the foot coming up, and it's a flat sole on the bottom of the shoe.
They did. There's footage of them walking across the moon. I think it's on like the 6th mission. I think where obviously nobody's ever saw somebody walking in 1/6 of gravity. So nobody knows what it looks like. But they do look like they're on strings.
Yeah,
how they move in.
Yeah, well, more recently, I've seen this quite a few times. You've probably seen this too, Pete, where it's they're filming a modern. It must have been the International Space Station, and they're filming it out through the window, looking back at Earth, and there's a mouse running around on the boom that goes out with the solar panels on it, and there's a mouse running around because it's been filmed in a studio in California, probably. I'll send it you, Dunk. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Again, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. It's a. If it was up in space and there's a mouse running around, or even if they have filmed it, why film it? If you want to show people the footage and essentially the truth, then why aren't you doing that? And if
did the mouse have a little space helmet on?
Did not. It didn't float away either.
Yeah.
But maybe another question. Maybe they padded out the space footage with fake footage. Who knows? That's a question.
Maybe they didn't get any footage.
Well,
they got to the moon, but they didn't get any footage, so they made footage up.
The camera didn't work. Yeah.
Well,
imagine that going all that way in the cat. Oh, someone forgot the film for the camera.
Yeah.
Shit. Well, they have actually admitted on some of the official NASA space pictures, which was filmed in a studio. Somehow they got caught out, and then they said that the pictures up there weren't that good, so we actually used the ones in the studios because they got kind of somehow some technology, they reversed the image or something, and it proved. Yeah. You know, it was a picture on in. Yeah,
they supplemented a lot of the imagery with fake imagery, but yeah, it's kind of like, well, come on, if you're gonna go and complete these massive feats, you know, I mean, why not show the actual footage? And you know, even if it isn't that impressive, we've seen what the Hubble telescope can look at, and all these space telescopes can look at. You know, they think that. You know, they've been floating around for how many years out there, and that's beaming back pictures of stars being born and black holes, and or are they?
Well, you think with the advancement of technology, in 55 years we'd have like a hotel up there or something, kind of, or we'd be on Mars.
Go for a visit.
You know, of
how long does it take to get there?
3 or 4 days or something, wasn't it? I think.
You know, it's wasting 4 days there.
It's an amazing story, and you can imagine the romanticism in the late 60s of, wow, we've done it, you know, it's amazing. It really, the narrative that carries it along is so impressive, you know, and if it does, like you said, if it does turn out to not be true, it would unravel,
country, wouldn't it?
It would unravel a great deal. And
it's the greatest achievement of mankind, this wasn't it?
Yeah, easily.
Like with the astronauts, they'd have to, I suppose the deep state or whatever, they would have had to threaten their families, not just themselves.
Yeah.
To go like, but yeah, if you watch the footage of when they arrive back down,
it's a bit.
It's like that don't make any sense.
It's a bit fishy. Isn't
I mean, tonight's rabbit hole to go down. Look at home. Let's see. All right, let's go jump from there then. UFOs.
Crikey.
That's why I was talking
about
space.
Go on, don't you start this one off.
But you know what? So for me, believe that, you know, we're not the only planet out there. Quite realistically, it could be another one, could be like ours, a long way away. Who knows? You know, that's not that like indescribable, or that's not a word, is it? But you could imagine there is something like this out there. So what's to say there isn't?
The universe is infinite. So you know, we'd be quite arrogant to say that we're the best, we're it, we're the only ones, we're the highest achieving, you know, organism in the entire universe.
I'm open-minded to that, but come on, mate, you tell me.
Yeah, well, again, I don't really know. You know, there's so much information and disinformation going in all directions. You know, everyone's got a story. You've got the people who have been taken up and experimented on for the people that see these things, and
they're not called UFOs anymore. They got
UAPs, isn't it, or something?
Because they've got like American Air Force pilots have gone on like testimony in it where they've seen and on radar they've seen objects underwater and above,
and in the sky. They're tracking
that are moving
them
in no way anything has ever moved before at speeds
speed that would destroy a organic.
And they've got no explanation.
No explanation. Yeah, I think they tracked one recently, and it was doing 500 knots. It was the size of a football pitch, and it was doing 500 knots underwater. Jeez. And that was from a high level. I heard it from a sort of congressman or senator. Well, I don't know the differences in the US. He'd obviously got that information from a high ranking naval officer. So you know, these aren't hillbillies or idiots saying these things, you know. These
you two in your full hats.
Me and Pete in our tinfoil hats saying this stuff, These are experts in their field, you know, and I think there's a lot of that going on. And I think, like, it gets onto what we've said already, you know, a lot of people are seeing it. You believe in things with your own eyes, but, you know, you're being told that, no, that's not right, that's not real. And it kind of goes into what we've touched on of how do they keep the secrets. maybe, you know.
And that would be out of fear, I guess, fear to the public if they did believe.
Yeah.
You know, they would. You know, if everyone's seen War of the Worlds or heard or read the book or heard the musical, whatever it was on the radio, and actually believed it was real, and the panic.
Oh, War of the Worlds, yeah, that was what started off. So there's some people who know that story, but they read the book of the War of the Worlds out
live on the radio, didn't they?
Live on the radio, and people thought it was actually happening. It through the world into the states. I think on whatever radio station it was being broadcast on, threw it into absolute panic. And I think the government and the powers that be realised then, oh, this is handy.
Yeah, just keep that.
But
perhaps,
but I think that was kind of before Roswell had happened and all the stuff around Area 51 and the.
What's the guy's name from Area 51? He's quite. Do you know what guy I'm on about?
I do. I know who you mean, but
he's never changed his story.
Never changed his story.
One single bit in like 30 years.
Well, what's this?
So he worked on. He legitimately worked on Area 51.
He was a propulsions expert. He had done university. He fitted a jet engine to his Honda when he was at university. So he'd been flagged up as a bit of a propulsions genius, and he got recruited by the powers that be, I think, wasn't it? That was the story. And
she said, he works in Area 51, it's ginormous, and everyone works there on one small part of, so nobody ever knows what they're actually kind of the complete thing they work on. And he said there was 4 like UFO, I might be wrong here, 4 UFOs sort of thing, and like anything mankind's ever seen before, with technology, like that don't make any sort of sense. But 30, 40 years ago, he said this like, and some of the things he said has come true, and which didn't exist 30, 40 years ago.
Fibre optics and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. And
3D printing,
and a certain element that now is in the periodic table that wasn't then. And he said it was in
135 or something like that.
Yeah, and the one thing with him is like, they've never. He said he's just kept that exact story.
Yeah,
of he was working on this craft.
It's the same as the Manhattan Project, like they're saying, it was so secret that the one department didn't know what the other department was doing, and they didn't know what the next department was doing, so the secrecy across the board.
When was that released, that Manhattan Project? I think we were talking about it before.
60s.
Yeah, it must be, They've just made the Oppenheimer film, haven't they? They come out, so, The facts behind it, I'm not too sure, but similar kind of thing. I mean, Area 51's still ongoing, isn't it? I think so. But like I said, a lot of the technology that, like fibre optics and stuff like that, all kind of come out, and people.
Think Trump will declassify it then, all that stuff.
So they did
the sort of character that would, though.
I think Bill Clinton did an experiment, or one of the sort of high politicians around that time, sort of mid sort of 90s, and. Is it worth? What are the benefits? The pros and cons of declassification, and they ran it as a scenario, and they said there would be more cons than pros. It would throw everything into just panic. Yeah. If she understood that we weren't alone, and people, you'd have people questioning religion and politics and ethics and everything. So I think they decided a long time ago that they weren't going to.
Dangerous.
Yeah, it would be a bit dangerous. The facts would be a bit dangerous, And like I said, a lot of people have got stories, whether it's a UFO story or I haven't. Not yet. I did see Starlink go over one night, which I thought was very unusual. Have you ever seen it? It all goes over in a line. And he launches the rocket. And all the satellites, they all go in a perfect line. I was like, this is it.
Where'd you see that?
I had to Google it and go, that's Starlink.
Where was that?
In Cotswolds, when I was working night shifts on
They're watching you, mate.
On a state, We watched it one night, me and a couple of the lads on security, we were watching it going over. But,
It's funny how the UFOs only really come in America as well. But they said that these new things or whatever, they're centered around different nuclear bases.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, lots of different nuclear sites. Yeah,
I think they've said that, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they're actually quite open about this one. It's like we don't know what's going on here.
There's like the Tic Tac shape.
What about
one?
I don't really know too much about this one. What about Antarctica?
I was about to say
I
that.
haven't really jumped into that one too much. I think it's like flat Earth, isn't it? You kind of go.
Go on, what's this?
No, it's like kind of like in the 60s. I think like all the there's a treaty with like all the countries in the world in a way. No one can really.
No one's allowed to
but
go there and mine there or do anything sort of. No one's allowed to claim it fully.
It's resource rich.
Potentially, yeah, but yeah.
Didn't like the Russians send a submarine there and plant a flag in somewhere to claim it though? Down in the water. You heard that?
Yeah, I think I
Sure, Tim Marshall was talking about that.
Oh, was he? Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
No, I don't know where you're going with Antarctica. What it's
no,
not.
just kind of.
What's the conspiracy?
Oh no, like what's going on down there has always been a sort of like.
There's a talk of like huge military bases and pyramids and all sorts of
like pyramids,
Middle Earth and
pyramids on Antarctica.
Any if you watch, we don't get too political here, but COVID.
Do that on episode 2.
Yeah, I think we probably should. Yeah. Any other little ones you want to finish off with?
Season 2, I think.
I think the one doing
Session
the rounds
2.
at the minute, which I'm kind of got my eye on, and I think I'm very aware that a lot of the stuff I've seen on it is all AI generated, and a lot of things are at the minute. Kind of the stuff I send you, I think I've seen it on a few more than one format, but there's a lot of stuff that is AI generated that I won't share. I hope I don't. I probably have in the past. But it's the 3I Atlas comet. So if you've seen this coming.
What's that, sorry?
So it's this huge comet that's on its way. It's coming our direction.
Yeah,
it's a planet destroyer, basically. Huge comet and they've tracked it. They know what it's made of. They know its trajectory, and it's going to pass between Earth and the sun. So there's some experts that say it's just going to come and sweep around the sun, then it'll head back. And there's other people that might be more conspiracy minded saying, it's the mothership, and it links into Operation Bluebeam. And
What's that?
That's what it is people think it's.
So there's all this conspiracy that it's the mothership, and it's they're coming. There's aliens. They're coming to Earth, and they're going to take over. All they're going to destroy us. All they're going to be us.
When's it due, this comet? When's it like the passing of it? How far away is it?
It's a few million light years away, I think.
Years.
But it's shifting. But it's basically due within the next few months, apparently.
All right.
Yeah. So
Get that hold in and quickly.
yeah, we'd better do episode
Better put
2.
this one out before that then, just in case.
Yeah, quick. So get your tins of beans and your bottles of water.
Cheers, mate. I reckon we'll do an episode 2 on this one.
I think there's enough content to
Go down the route, mate.
Pyramids, I'm quite into, mate, as well. Actually, we'll do that on the next one.
put them.
Pyramids, I quite find quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole. That's so much to touch with pyramids.
Yeah. Well, there's all that stuff, the history of everything, and you could touch into Atlantis and all that kind of stuff, and the facts. And
Well, actually, the pyramids contradicts the point I said earlier on. When in time has technology been more advanced in the past than it is now?
well, yeah,
That's kind of the pyramids, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Where we probably couldn't recreate that now.
No, not the.
3D printer now. Was an answer, right? You two get your tinfoil hats back
Well,
on.
haven't they just found a 40-meter metallic tic-tac shape underneath one of the pyramids? They've scanned it with this LiDAR radar type.
Well, they found, didn't they, under the pyramid, cylinders.
Huge columns, yeah.
Huge columns, 600 meters down, which kind of maybe like a staircase.
Yeah.
But they found on that laser you said, which just throws it all up again.
Just, throws more questions into the abyss and makes people like me and...
I could imagine
Pagan.
digging 600 meters back in the day was quite difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Making the pyramids, but yeah, madness. Either spin-off podcast or we'll go for episode 2 of Jonah.
Or a series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You too.
definitely.
Here's
Cheers,
your own
mate.
one.
The
Cheers,
Tinfoil
mate.
Hat Podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Enjoyed that.